Here with Michelle Winkler, the head women's golf coach at Cal State Northridge and also a PGA professional. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. As we were talking, yeah, we're both from Connecticut. So, yeah, can you tell me about, growing up in East Granby, Connecticut? I know it's, up by Hartford by the airport there.
Yeah, it certainly is. No, growing up in East Granby was great. It's a very small town. When I lived there, I think there was only maybe like 8,000 people that lived in the town.
Okay.
And so it's very close to the border of Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
the golf course that I actually grew up playing on is in Massachusetts. And so no, it was great. What else can I say about my childhood other than that? I lived in a very safe neighborhood. We lived at the end of this beautiful cul-de-sac, and I just remember being able to play outside all the time. So yeah, as a kid, I was very active. I played every sport imaginable, and yeah, I was just a very active kid.
Yes. Yes, you grew up in Connecticut. What course or courses would you play mostly, where you
Um,
grew up?
so I grew up playing at Oak Ridge
Okay.
in Mass. And then there's another, small public course called Copper Hill in East Granby that I grew up playing on. And that was actually where I had my first job, picking balls up on the range. But then, I would play at Wittenberry Hills in Bloomfield. That was the home course
Oh, yeah.
for my high school team. And then, pretty much, all these like smaller public, muni courses I pretty much played on. I didn't really play on private golf courses growing up.
Yeah, I've never even been up to Hartford. Yeah, I've lived in Connecticut for 5 years now. Never even been up to Hartford. Mostly stay down by New Haven. But yeah, I've definitely got to play at Winton Hills. It's one of the top courses in the state. So that's always been a goal of mine to play there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
So let's talk about your start in the game of golf. So how did you get started playing golf, and what age did you begin playing?
Typical story, I started playing because of my dad,
Mhm.
and I started playing when I was about 9, and he actually played golf at the University of Notre Dame.
Okay.
And he actually quit the team because he was a physics major, and as some of these kids know nowadays, it's just really hard to balance all the labs with a sport that you travel so much. So, but anyway, just the reason I tell you that is because he's a very avid and like good golfer. So I grew up playing softball was actually my favorite sport playing when I was younger. And I just remember one day my dad was like, "Hey, do you want to come to the golf course with me?" And at 9 years old, I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I went, and someone must have given me a club or something. So, and I swung it like probably a softball swing. And I think my dad just looked at me like, "Wow, you're actually pretty good. Like, would you want to pursue this?" And so what ended up happening was, because both sports were, at the same time, I had to choose, and I ended up choosing golf because I think my dad saw a future in that for me, and that was something that him and I could do together. So that's how I switched from softball to golf, and then the rest took care of itself.
Nice. Well, your dad is definitely correct. You've had a very successful career in golf so far. So what memories do you have from, playing golf growing up?
Oh God. At Oak Ridge, I just remember I would play with this group of old men on Sunday mornings, because that was when my dad would play, with his buddies, and they would do all these betting and fun things like that. And so I just remember like going to the golf course with him, but this was at a time where it was a muni course that I grew up on. So I was not only the only junior at the club, but I was the only female, whether like at any age, I was the only girl there.
Okay.
So I just remember going, and I'll be honest, it was kind of boring at the start because I had no one to play with, because my dad was, on Sunday mornings was playing with his friends. So this group of old men, they must have been in their 80s. Vinny was the one that really took me in under his wing, and I played with them, and they were so great. And so I played with them, and then I played in a bunch of, junior Connecticut tour, Pepsi tours, all that stuff. And had a few friends in the area that played that were my age, but Connecticut doesn't breed that many female golfers at the time, at least. So there was a handful of girls that I was friends with, but just purely location wise, there's just wasn't a lot of girls that played.
Nice. So what did it mean to you to be rated as the second best Connecticut women's junior golfer in 2007?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, like this was when I was in high school, and I was the number one player in my high school team. And it was a team where, probably half of them were playing just to put it on the resume, but then there were a few of us that really wanted to pursue collegiate golf. And of the handful that did, I was pretty much the only one that could play Division 1. And so it meant a lot to me, because growing up, Liz Jan Angelo was always someone that I looked up to, and she was, I think to this day, is the highest rated best female golfer to come out of Connecticut. And our moms worked together, so that was a really cool way to just have a connection with her somehow. And she was about 10 years older than me, but anyway, to be kind of talked in the same conversation as her was obviously awesome. And I feel like for me it was a good accomplishment, because it was, all the work that I had put into at that point, it really started to show.
So I'm interested to learn about this. My next question. So can you tell me about being a captain on Connecticut's tri-state team in 2006?
Yeah, I mean that was, I just remember, always a fun tournament, because it would be Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island we would play.
Okay.
And these were some of the girls that I actually had better relationships with. Sam Morrell is actually one coming from Rhode Island. She's still a very dear friend of mine. And after all these years, we finally connected, because she started working in the Met section when I was still working in Connecticut. And so to not only establish those friendships at that age, but then still have them at my age is incredible. But I just remember, I don't ever remember like what I shot or how I played or how we played, but all I remember is thinking, like, this is so much fun being able to play with girls my age and really play as a team. That was kind of my first taste of that, I guess, besides my high school golf team. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and rooming with them and stuff was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, oftentimes being on a team, making memories is more important than shooting a certain score.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Sorry if I pronounced the school name wrong, but can you tell me about your time at Loomis Chaffee High School?
Yeah, Loomis Chaffee. Yeah.
Chaffee? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably one of my, I guess, the things that I tout the most in my life, is because it's one of the best college preparatory schools. And it was just an incredible experience. It made my time in college so much easier, because at Loomis, everything is, prepping us to go to like schools like Yale and, any Ivy League schools, any top rated schools. So it really ingrained in me a really strong work ethic and time management skills. So at Loomis, we were on trimesters, and we had to play a sport or do some sort of activity outside of school every trimester. And so I played golf in the spring, but I also played volleyball and basketball in the other terms. And so it was a rough experience, in the sense that my dad actually taught at that school. And so I had to be at school at 6:30 in the morning, and then I had a full day of class, and then I would play my sport after. And so I wouldn't get home until probably 6:30, and then have 4 hours of homework staring at me in the face. So it was a full-time job. And to add on to that, I don't think they do this anymore, but I actually had school every other Saturday. So yeah, it was a really grueling time, but the coolest thing about going to a school like Loomis or some of these other prep schools is you have people coming in from everywhere. Like I had friends on my golf team that were from Thailand, from China. Some of my best friends were from the Bronx, New York, which had I gone to, my local public school, I would have never been able to be exposed to these different cultures and even different parts of the country. So it was awesome. It was very grueling, but even to this day, like I have all these skills kind of ingrained because of how rigorous it was.
Um, yeah, so after Loomis, then you went and played collegiately at Xavier University in Ohio. What drew you to, playing for Xavier, and were there any other schools you were, considering attending or looking at?
Yeah, I got a verbal offer from Boston College
Okay.
when uh I must have been a junior, yeah, at the time. And so what ended up happening was that fell through. And so I had to kind of start my recruiting process over like pretty late in the game.
Well,
So I remember yeah, it must have been junior year. I went to Xavier. This was back when you would send DVDs of your swings to you'd physically mail them to the golf coaches, and have like a typed up letter in with it. And so Xavier was a school I had never heard of, but my dad had heard of it, and he knew about them because of the basketball team. They've notoriously always had a really strong basketball team. So I don't know what prompted him to look up the school, but I just remember one day he pulled me into his office and said, "This is in Cincinnati, Ohio." He obviously went to Notre Dame, a school in the Midwest, and it was important for me to go to a Catholic university for my faith and how I grew up. So it's a Jesuit school, and so it kind of everything that my dad had described it as was like, wow, I think this could be a way better fit than my thinking of going to Boston College. So I ended up going out there. I remember it was in November because there was snow on the ground. I wasn't able to see any of the golf courses or watch the team play. But what I did was I kind of did a tour of three schools, Xavier, Siena College in upstate New York, where my dad's side of the family's from, and my grandfather and uncle went there, and St. Mary's, which is the sister school of Notre Dame. And so I remember Xavier was my last tour of the three, and it was by far the best program compared to those other two schools. And what really drew me to going to Xavier was the team. I fell in love with the team, and the location of the school. It was like right outside of downtown Cincinnati, and it was just fun for me. The campus was beautiful. And the other thing that really drew me to the school itself was the tournament schedule. Our coach did a really good job of exposing us to different parts of the country, which the other two schools really didn't have. So yeah, that's what drew me.
nice. Yeah, can you just sum up your college career at Xavier and, what it was like for you to represent the Musketeers?
Yeah, it was great. Like I said, we played in states like Idaho and Texas and Florida, and I think it was right after I graduated they started going to Hawaii. So representing a university as a student athlete is probably one of the coolest things anyone can do. I thought, coming from my background especially, I thought it was so cool being able to play the sport that I loved with another group of women that also loved it, and they weren't from Connecticut. So I was able to kind of see how they play the sport growing up from, where they came from. So yeah, it was cool for me to, be away from home, kind of figure out myself and my identity, but doing it with the safety of my group and my team kind of doing it alongside me. And yeah, just being able to like walk around campus and people stop you and be like, "Oh, yeah, you're on the golf team, right? Like I just read an article about you, or I just heard you guys came back from a tournament in South Carolina. Like how was that?" So very cool from like the professor's point of view. Like they knew all about me, and golf especially, most people think it's interesting, so or watch it on TV. So I thought that was pretty cool. I felt kind of like a little celebrity in a way. And all the perks that come along with it is just it's really tremendous. And then just the kind of the silent skills that you learn again with the time management and the priorities and all that, I think it was just such a cool experience. I wish I could do it over again.
But yeah, so after college at Xavier, you returned to Connecticut where you taught at Indian Hill Country Club in Newington, Connecticut from 2012 to 2014.
Mhm.
How did you know you wanted to get into teaching right after college? And what was it like to return to Connecticut after college?
Yeah, so I studied sport management at Xavier, and so in Cincinnati, most of my cohorts either got jobs with the Cincinnati Reds or the Cincinnati Bengals. And so I remember talking to my advisor one day, and he said, I can set you up with a job with, like, I don't know that much about football, but coming from my softball background, and I love baseball. um I thought that would be a better route for me. And so when he said that, I was like, I don't really, my heart's not in baseball. Like I love golf. So um I remember it was nearing my graduation. I hadn't secured a job, and all of my other friends, my non-athlete friends, had. So I think it was about a month before graduation. My dad's college roommate, who is still his one of his best friends to this day, um, they lived in Newington at the time, and they were looking for specifically a female professional to work at Indian Hill. And so I was like, okay, I mean, I wanted to get into coaching, college coaching, but there was nothing for me at the time. And so I figured, well, let's do the PGA thing while I figure this out and figure out how to get into college coaching. So I was able to go back home, live back with my parents, save up some money, work at Indian Hill, which was an incredible experience. And life happens, and it kind of led me to these different jobs, and finally back to what I've always wanted to do, which is college coaching.
Yeah, so you're a PGA professional. How did you end up becoming a PGA professional?
I mean, it was simply just the pro at Indian Hill was like, I want you to work for me, but in order to do so, you need to be a Class A PGA professional. That was
Okay.
just kind of one of his requirements, but it was great because I do know obviously some universities have like the PGM programs that you can get your degree in, and I think it's counted as like a business major, but because I had just graduated, I wasn't going to go back to school, so I was able to do it as like an online program, and you could do it at, I did it at my own pace, which basically meant I did it during the winter time, during my off season. And so it took me a few years to get it done, but yeah, that's how I became a PJ professional, and that's how I did it. And it's great because I was able to get better jobs because of that. Not or having those three letters attached to my name really helped.
Can you tell me what was it like getting to teach at PGA National? And also, would you spend, your summers in Connecticut and then your winters in Florida? How did that work?
Yeah, so I would do kind of the dual life thing. Like I would spend my summers in Connecticut, and then I
Okay.
would spend my winters in Florida. And I was blessed enough to have parents who had property already in Florida. So I had a place to stay in Florida. But
Okay.
at PJ National, I wasn't really like just an instructor at PJ National. I worked in the shop as well as interning with the Ledbetter Academy. But that environment was really eye-opening. I feel like I learned the most in terms of like how to run a business from that job. And then certainly being able to work with the Ledbetter instructors. I mean, these are some of the best instructors in the world. So I really took it upon myself to learn from them and kind of learn how they teach and what they look for and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, some of the best, I guess, instruction that I've received came from that job. And it was a lot of fun too, because in the shop, there was, I think, 6 other people that I worked with, and they were all around my age at the time. And so I just remember having a lot of fun and getting along with those guys. And there were a few girls that worked there too. So yeah, a lot of good memories from that place.
Nice. Yeah, so you spent 6 years as an assistant golf professional at Stanwich Club in Greenwich, Connecticut. Can you tell me about your time at Stanwich and what you learned from being an assistant pro there?
Yeah, I mean, Stanwich, it's the number one golf course in Connecticut,
Yes.
and rightfully so, because everything that they do there is, I mean, just excellent. Everything they do there is excellent. And so when I got the job there, I felt like a fish out of water. I was like, what? Why did they hire me? I'm, like an imposter syndrome. Like, I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. But just working under Mike Suma and for him and Guy, the general manager, was just an incredible experience. I mean, it was really hard for me to leave that place because of the members and just the guys I worked with. There, we just were, as corny as it sounds, a really strong family. But yeah, I mean, I did realize, again, working at Stanwich, that I didn't want to be a director of golf. I didn't want to be a head professional. I knew that I loved teaching. And it again life happens, and it came full circle that I was able to remember that I loved and wanted to be a college coach. And so I think through all of my, my 10 years of being a PGA professional and working at private clubs and even, resorts, I've picked up little pieces of here and there of what I like, what I don't like, how to communicate, how to, I think my mindset is always like, okay, we're always in customer service. That's probably one of the biggest things I learned at Stanwich is you're always thinking of the customer. You're always thinking about the people that you work for and you work with. And so I feel like that's probably the biggest trait that I have brought into my job now is I'm still I still think of it as like I'm still in customer service. So but yeah, it was a hard job to leave for sure. I loved it there.
Nice. Can you also tell me about teaching at the Jupiter Island Club and also Joey D Sports Training Center?
Yeah, so Jupiter Island, I was only there for a season.
Mhm.
It was okay. The demographic of that course is it's kind of like these people's like second or third course that they're members of. So I just remember it being like really quiet, really slow. But some of the nicest people I remember that were members there, and coincidentally, some of them were also members at Stanwich. So it was nice to be able to see them in my off season, or as my cohorts called it, as the off season working in Florida. Joey D was just another world. I mean, that was the only job that I think I've ever really done. It's in golf, but it's more of a gym and kind of like an all-inclusive
Mhm.
um spot for golfers. But like it was crazy. Like I remember going into work and like Dustin Johnson would be working out
Oh
on
wow.
over on the left-hand side. Lexi Thompson would be like walking in. There was who else? I mean, Brooks, I never met Brooks Koepka, but he works out there, and Justin Thomas I would see all the time. And a dear friend of mine, Marvin, worked there. And coincidentally, Colby, who is kind of the head trainer there, he's the one that taught me the most about injury prevention, which I never really dove into before that. But he's now like coming full circle, he's also a friend of my husband. So I still have a really strong relationship with him, and I still see him when we go to different tour spots. So yeah, that was crazy. I feel like that was a job that I wish I had for a little bit longer, um but again, life happens. But some of the smartest people too work there, just crazy intelligent.
Nice. Yeah, so my next question, I've seen some of the videos that you do for, Golf Channel, Golf Pass. You do a very good job at making things seem simple and breaking them down. But yeah, how did you become a Golf Channel, Golf Pass coach? And can you tell me about what you do, working with the Golf Channel?
Yeah, so how it was kind of random how it all happened. One of my dearest friends, Natalie Sheehan and Devin Bonebreak, they both, work for the Golf Channel and film for the Golf Channel. So I think it was just kind of one of those things where they had just asked around, like Martin Hall and Blair. I think they had asked around for kind of recommendations of like up and coming coaches or coaches that they think they should highlight. And so my name got thrown into the ring again. Imposter syndrome. I feel like I shouldn't have been there, but it was pretty random in that sense that they just kind of found me through my friends, and I think they vetted me on social media, and they flew me out to Orlando. We filmed all day. I think I filmed like 35 or 40 videos, like 2 or 3 minute videos. But it was like an all day thing. And then I flew back, and yeah, it was cool.
Yes. Yeah, well, you definitely are an up and coming teacher. Can you tell me, what does it mean to you to be a Golf Digest best young teacher? And what is this, accolade? What does it actually mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I just have to keep bringing up the imposter syndrome. I feel like I mean, I've worked very hard. I've done so many things in this industry to better my education and just put my best foot forward. So, I certainly feel like I've earned it in that way. But at the same time, to be in the same conversation as some of these incredible golf instructors is just like unbelievable to me. But that's what it means to me is like um, I just feel so blessed to be on that list and to be recognized as someone who's not only put in the work but is doing a good job, especially as a female, because I know there's just not as many of us in the industry, and it's dwindling every year. So yeah, it's just awesome. And I hope to continue to stay on the list and continue to do more things in this industry.
Yeah, so you're the head women's golf coach at Cal State Northridge, but prior to Cal State Northridge, you were in a you were a volunteer assistant coach at Cal State Fulerton.
Mhm.
So how did you end up going from Connecticut to California, and how was your time at Cal State Fulerton?
Yeah, so I ended up coming out to California because I had met my now husband, while I was still working at Stanwich.
Okay.
And so when the pandemic happened, I mean, as you can, imagine, I was very booked. My lesson book was just full to the brim. And yeah, on top of, all my other responsibilities at Stanwich, I was just getting really tired. I was really tired. My relationship with Scott at that point was getting really serious. And so I just had to like kind of look at my life and like in what direction it was going. And I knew that if I were to stay at Stanwich, I probably wouldn't still be with Scott. I probably wouldn't, have my son, Luke. So I decided to quit. So I quit mid-season in 2021. And I decided to move out to California where my husband lives and works. And so um, I just happened to be really good friends with the Cal State Fulerton women's golf coach. And so just through my conversations with her, she knew I didn't want to be a golf professional. I kind of wanted to start fresh and really try and be a college golf coach, at least see if I liked it. And so she was pregnant at the time, and I knew that she was going to need some help as soon as she had her daughter. So she asked if I wanted to come and join her team on a volunteer basis, just to kind of dip my toe in the industry. And I said, absolutely. And then this job came up December of 2021. So yeah.
Yeah, the Cal State Fullerton coach, Catherine. Yeah, I think I'm hopefully going to interview her soon. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. She's great.
yeah,
She's like
sounds good.
she's like one of my best friends against her will. I force her to be my friend.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so after Cal State Fullerton, you were named interim head coach in January of 2022 at Cal State Northridge. Can you tell me how did you end up at Cal State Northridge, and what was it like to be the interim head coach?
Yeah, so they like I said, the job had been posted after their fall season of 2021. And so it was, I think, I mean, I'm not, again, I'm like still very new to this industry and this type of I don't know, this area of the golf industry, but trying to find a coach mid-season, I think, is obviously way harder than if you're finding someone in the summer. So I don't know how many people applied to the job, but I filled out the application as soon as I heard of it. And I remember I was interviewed a few times in December, and then I had gotten the job in early January. And so I hope that, it's because of it's because of everything that I've put into this career and this industry before. And I know that they were taking a chance on me because I had never been a college coach before, and I know it's really hard to get to that level, but they took a chance on me. I'll be honest, they took a chance on me. And I was told from day one that I was going to be interim for about a year, which I was. And after that, they'd review how I did. And so the job really wasn't like I was going to be interim and then just step into the head coaching position right away. Like I could have lost this job very easily. But luckily, after that year of being interim, they saw, I think they bought into what I wanted to do with this program and everything that I was doing for the team. And so they really bought into what I was doing and believed in what I wanted to do. And it's been working out great.
What did it mean to you to be named the head women's golf coach at Cal State Northridge in November 2022?
Oh, I was elated. I mean, it couldn't have worked out better. So it's everything, life happens for a reason. I don't think I ever would have gotten this job if I was, or even an assistant coaching job, if, I applied right out of college. I think one of the biggest reasons why I'm having fun, the team's having fun, we're seeing success now, it is because of all the years and, all the work I had put in prior. I think it really benefited not only me, but the program and all the relationships I've made along the way. I mean, some of the best people I've worked with on a personal level are now helping my team. And they're seeing success from that. So it means so much to me to like really believe in, a higher power or God, whatever you want to call it, that, life happens for a reason, even though life might like veer you off course. For me, it was 10 years. But now coming back to what I've always wanted to do, and just, getting to relive my college experience in a way is also really, really cool. And, being able to implement some things that I thought my college coach did a really great job with, being able to implement that with, this new generation is just like, it's just awesome. I'm having the best time.
Nice. I have two more questions. If you don't want to answer this, you don't have to, but in videos and all that, I'm always seeing it with a Riviera hat on. What's up with the Riviera hat? Do you have any relation to Riviera? Or do you just like the course, or you just went to the PGA tournament
Wow.
there? Just tell
Yeah,
me.
no, that's funny that that's something you notice.
Yeah.
Um, no, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to play that golf course, I think maybe like 6 times now.
Okay.
Um, I just love it. Besides Stanwich, Riv is probably the only other golf course I could play every day and never get sick of. And knock on wood, every time I've played Riviera, I've played really well. But that's not, I don't think it's really like something that I think about. I just happen to be wearing that hat when I do videos.
Yeah, so you don't teach at Riviera. Do you teach at like any course or not? No course in particular?
No, I
Or
don't. I am not affiliated with any course out in California, but I'm
okay,
fortunate that I'm able to give lessons out of my backyard in California. We have a little garage set up, so I'm
okay,
still teaching on the side, more so in the summertime when we're really, during our off season and like everyone's back home in their respective state or country, and I have a lot more free time. But in the season, and even now during our off season, it's too hard. I'm too busy with coaching, but so. Yeah, my backyard's my home course.
okay. Well, teaching out of your backyard and garage, that's a unique one. Haven't heard that before.
Hmm.
So yeah, my final question is, how do you think we can grow the game of golf, especially get more juniors into the game of golf?
Yeah, I mean, I think top like things like Top Golf, Discover Golf, the First Tee, PGA Junior League, things like that, I think are great ways to get kids involved. It's all about keeping it fun. Like I remember growing up, like I said, when I was growing up, I was the only junior, I was the only female playing a sport that was just like, I was just surrounded by these like old men all the time. So it wasn't the most fun for me. Um, but I think for kids nowadays, especially with like, phones and tablets and all that stuff, like their attention span is so short that you just have to like continuously not only keep them engaged, but keep things fun for them. Because if not, they're gonna lose interest. They're gonna think of golf like, oh, I didn't have fun. I wasn't laughing. My friends weren't doing it, so I'm not going to do it again. Um, but yeah, I think that it's not reinventing the wheel, to be honest with you. I think it's just really simple things, keeping it fun, keeping them engaged, and really knowing like, kids are different. For example, like a kid might like golf because there's not a competitive element to it, whereas another kid might like golf because there is a competitive element to it. So I think it's not one or the other. I think us as adults, us as coaches and as instructors, I think we need to do a better job of getting to know each child individually and knowing what they like and what motivates them and playing up to that to keep them engaged. So yeah, but ultimately I think it's just keeping it fun.